Hi, everyone. Welcome back. If any of you watched my previous episode, it was a bit about cleaning up some snow. We had gotten about 4 or 5 inches, maybe that's in centimeters, 10 or 12 centimeters. And as mentioned, some of it I probably could have just knocked out with the shovel, but just to run the snow blower, I broke that out and everything worked fine. I got everything cleaned up and pretty much had thought I had wrapped things up. But this is Lithuania. And as I also mentioned in the previous episode, the weather forecasts here are kind of hit and miss. In their defense, they did predict the snow, but they certainly did not predict the amounts. They just say it's going to snow. You're kind of on your own to figure out how much you're going to get. So we did get more snow, obviously. You can see here, I broke out the ATV plow, and we got another maybe 4 inches on top of what we had before. So again, I probably could have just left it be. We did have some warmer temperatures forecasted, which we've gotten already by the time of recording this episode. But at the time, I figured, well, it's kind of starting to pile up on the road, and that's the other thing is you really don't know when you're going to get more or how much you're going to get. So rather than letting it pile up to over a foot of snow or more than I'd like to push. I just got out there and pushed some snow, and everything worked just fine. I got things cleaned up, uh, as you can see here. Uh, I think in a little bit I'll show one final episode because the following day after this current day we even got a little bit more, and you'll see that was that wet heavy stuff. But it was nice to see the snow. But as mentioned, by the time I'm posting this or publishing this particular episode, it pretty much has already melted. But hopefully we'll get some more. And you'll see here in a few spots I'm digging up some turf and a little bit of mud, and that's because obviously the ground isn't frozen, which is not a good thing for many reasons. One, it's a little bit messier to plow, and you kind of cause some damage. But two, it's just generally not good for nature if the ground doesn't freeze a little bit each winter. But we got a ways to go. It's only January. But, in my mind, I think it's just not good for nature if you don't get at least a few inches of frost in the ground, even for a week or two. But if you go through the whole winter and the ground really never freezes, I think that's just a bad omen for the spring and the summer. But enough about that. The other thing I did want to mention is if you guys suffered through one of my recent episodes, it was an ATV review. I talked a lot about this ATV, the CF Moto, and one of my complaints was that it had basically no low end torque when in high gear. And I'll still stick to that statement. When you are in high gear, it really has no low end torque. However, when you are in low gear, it's got plenty of low end torque. I'd say it just as good as the Polaris that I had did. So, in fairness, I wanted to call that out in CF Moto's defense. Again, when you're in low gear, plenty of push, especially when you're plowing. One of the other things I wanted to mention about that ATV review is I kind of beat up on CF Moto a little bit about the ride or the suspension. And again, I'll still stick to what I had said, that it is kind of a bad ride compared to Polaris. But again, my machine is, 3 years old now, and I imagine CF Moto's made some improvements. The other thing is they've got bigger models like the 1000 cc's that I guess is a pretty nice ride. And you can see here, I got things cleaned up pretty nice again. Of course, I think in the upcoming last little video clip, we did get a little bit more of that really wet, heavy stuff, almost like concrete. But it was fun while it lasted.
Hi everyone. What is it? Saturday, January 18th, 2025. Very nice day. Actually, a little bit too nice for January. I think it's about +6 in Celsius. It's, I think, low 40s in Fahrenheit. Obviously, the previous clips in this episode show me cleaning up snow. That was just over a week ago. Clearly, you can see the snow is now gone. We've had some pretty warm days, a bit of rain. It was nice to get the snow, so I shouldn't complain. And in fact, today's a pretty nice day. We don't have crazy wind. It's not raining, so I'll take it. But I did want to take an opportunity to talk about something that I've been planning to talk about. It's not really a question that I get a lot as such. People do ask me about this topic. It's more of I think a misconception that some people have, especially Americans, and that is, what is the cost of living in Lithuania? And it's kind of a gray area, because I'll start with, what do you consider living or cost of living? If you were just talking about subsistence, just the bare necessities, or some people nowadays consider having a mobile phone a necessity. That's factored into the cost of living. Whatever, but the other comment that I get quite often, especially from Americans, is that, you must be living like a millionaire in Lithuania, or, oh, everything is so cheap there. You must be living like a king. And not really. I'll start with some general basic things, like groceries or food. Yes, most things, especially like, the pantry items or the staple foods, potatoes, carrots, onions, etc. Yes, they are cheaper here in Lithuania. Not a lot, but certainly cheaper. And I'd say food in general is cheaper. Although, I feel the pain here when we go to the grocery store. Or I take that back, when my wife goes to the grocery store and I see the bill. You don't get much, but you spend a lot. But again, it is cheaper here for food. Other things, are different. I think a lot of people don't realize. I'll take electricity as a great example. I did a little research, and I found that the average cost per kilowatt in the US for electricity is 16 cents. Again, that's average throughout the US. I'm sure it's cheaper in Wisconsin, more expensive in California, but the average is 16 cents. In Lithuania, the average is 26 cents per kilowatt. So it's not quite double, but it's nearly double. So electricity is quite expensive here. I go around shutting off lights, and we don't use what electricity we don't need to. Another big one is fuel or gasoline. That's a big one. I think I was recently in the States back in September, early October. I don't remember exactly, but I think gas was not much more than $2 a gallon. Here, of course, it's sold by the liter, but it's about almost €2, let's just say $2 per liter. There's approximately 4 liters in a gallon. Therefore, the cost of fuel here is, let's say, between $7 and $8 a gallon, which, is a lot. It's a lot, depending on how often you drive. We don't drive a whole lot, but I can tell you this, if you forgot to pick something up at the store, you don't just jump in the car and head back to the store to get one thing. Fuel is very expensive here. Cars, I wouldn't say it's more expensive, but I would also say it's not cheaper. In fact, I think a lot of cars are more expensive here. Auto insurance, definitely more expensive here than we were paying in America. I'd say at least another 25% more expensive, but let me get turned around and give you a different view. But The other thing I think to factor in, or a couple of things that people don't really seem to understand, is there's a difference between dollars and euros. Everything here is in euros. It fluctuates. Right now, I think €1 costs about $1.12. So if you see something in the store and it says €1, it's going to cost you $1.12. If you see something €100, it's going to cost $112. So you guys can do the math, but a lot of times there's that mentality it's one for one, and it's not. Obviously, a lot of my savings and worth is in dollars, so I'm at the mercy of the fluctuation. One other thing is, in the States, depending on where you are, generally sales tax is 4 or 5%. You know, if you buy something for $100, you're going to end up paying $105 if it's a 5% sales tax. In Lithuania, sales tax, or what they call VAT, value added tax, is 21%. 21. So that being said, you know, I think a lot of the products and things here are actually, the price is a little cheaper than America. But by the time you add that 21% VAT, it's actually more expensive, or about the same price as in America. So the good thing is, here in the stores, when you see the price on something, it includes the VAT. You don't have to figure all that out when you check out, which I do kind of like. Other things that definitely are cheaper but creeping up, you know, things like cable TV or internet. You know, we get the package, and I think when we were still in America, I was paying about $100 a month for internet and basic cable. You know, here we pay 40 euros, give or take, and it is purely basic, you know, a few channels, but the internet is quite good. But again, that's one thing that is definitely cheaper, although the prices have been increasing. It's been going up €1, €2. It wasn't long ago we were paying 30 euros a month. Mobile phones, much cheaper here. I think my wife and I, we both have this plan or whatever, or we're both in. For the two of us, we pay, I think, around 40 a month, and it's a good plan. Basically unlimited everything. I'm sure there's a limit on the data, but so that's definitely much cheaper. One other big thing, which, you know, this is changing too, is we don't have property taxes here as such like we do in America. Like when I had my place still in the States, I think I was paying about $3,500 per year, or $300 per month, just in property taxes. We don't really have that here. However, that is about to change. I've been seeing it in the news. They're talking about implementing it. I don't know how much it will cost or how they're going to calculate it, but that's one good thing that kind of helps to offset the high costs. I've mentioned in other videos, you know, some things like tools and equipment are definitely much more expensive here. You know, this chainsaw, steel chainsaw, or whatever, Husqvarna, you know, if you're going to pay $400 in the States, I promise you're going to pay $600 here. I've mentioned in many other videos, especially like this ATV. You know, I bought my Polaris, this is back in 2016, but I bought my Polaris for, I think it was around $7,000. And here, the same exact machine, granted it came with mirrors and turn signals, etc., was, I believe, 10,000 euros, which, you know, by the time you do the exchange rate, you know, $10,500. So big difference, and that still exists. I don't know why there's such a big price difference with some of that stuff, ATVs, lawn equipment, etc. I just bought a new Cub Cadet lawnmower, well, it's not a push mower, it's self-propelled, 750 euros. I don't know what the same machine costs in the States, but I bet you it's not 750 euros or dollars. But so it's maybe more than you guys needed to know, but don't think that I'm living like a king here and that, everything is dirt cheap. It's, I think overall it is cheaper to live here. The cost of living is cheaper than in the States, but not by much. There are some things that are just more expensive here, other things that are less expensive. When it comes to just, again, as I started this off with, is, what do you consider living? If you're just talking subsistence, just survival, just to keep yourself fed and sheltered, definitely it's cheaper in Lithuania than to just survive in the US. But if you want to live, have a few nice things, or go on a vacation, or go out to eat every once in a while, nothing extravagant, I don't think it's any less expensive than in the US. I think one other major thing that I failed to mention is, the cost of a home, or here they call it an apartment, but basically a lot of people don't rent apartments, you buy the apartment, like a condo in the US. Definitely not cheaper here. In fact, it's probably in some cases more expensive. In the nearest city here, Klaipėda, to get a very small, tiny apartment that's really not completely modernized, you're talking 50, 60,000 euros. And when I say small, I mean small. 600, 500 square feet, no garage, no laundry. It's and if you want something modern, forget it. We're talking 300,000-400,000 in some cases. But anyhow, I hope that gives you guys a sense of what it costs to live here, and hopefully that gets rid of some of this myth that everything is dirt cheap here. But again, way more information you guys probably cared about, but we'll talk to you on the next one.